And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. If you all are new to us here on Amazon, welcome. We have programming here 7 days a week, interviews like we're going to have today. We also have product reviews and demonstrations, all to be able to help you in making your buying decisions. If you guys are new to our broadcast, we do invite you guys to give us a follow. You notice the follow button is either here in this corner or down below. Also, you'll notice either in the corner down below or the books with an S of today's guest. We're excited to welcome back Deborah L. Hunter to our program. Deborah is a chef, an author, entrepreneur. We're going to talk to her about the year that's been 2022, what it's been like for her to write books, not only for adults when it comes to cooking, like this one that I have here, but also for children as well, and let you all know how to stay connected with all the great things she's doing as well. Also, we want to welcome those tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. We welcome you guys to the broadcast. But Deborah, how you doing?
Cyrus, I am so hyped. I was listening to your intro music. Like, if you're not hyped after that, there's something wrong, right? Fantastic.
Well, Deborah, I did not choose that because, it's not traditionally. I think anyone who listens to it thinking, what is that? Am I in the wrong place?
Yeah, I was on the other side, just, rocking it out.
But it gets me excited too. But I'm always excited. I'm definitely excited to be able to speak with you. Deborah, let me first say to our audience, I am so proud of you.
Wow.
Deborah is someone who I've known now for years.
Yeah.
And she has continued to be able to inspire people, to motivate people to dream big. This year, she's added a new layer to her brand, that being her own show, Coffee and Conversations. We're going to talk to her about that. But Deborah, let's start there. Talk to us about what it's been like for you to reflect on the year that's been 2022.
Oh man, Cyrus, listen, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude. This has just been extraordinary. Coming out of COVID and having to reinvent some things in my life, and in the process, I decided that it was time for me to step forward and create Coffee and Conversations, which is a podcast all about inspiring people to love, laugh, and live a more authentic life. And I've been having fun doing that. I'm learning a lot behind the scenes and getting a chance to meet incredible people. And you've been such a great mentor and inspiration. So I'm excited about that. But this year has been absolutely wonderful. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm whole. And so I have nothing to complain about, Cyrus.
Yeah. And Deborah, I meant what I said about you being able to inspire others because it comes at all of us. I've been very open this year about my only big challenge this year has been dealing with some health issues with my family, with my parents. Both my mom and dad ended up in the hospital at different times this year, both though are ending up the year okay. We're taking it, I was saying to you, a day at a time. So, but, I know life is happening to all of us. We're dealing with loss. We're dealing with all the kind of challenges that come. But what I noticed about you, Deborah, is that you have been able to, in spite of what may be happening, you have been able to come on Facebook, share inspirational messages. What is it that keeps you wanting to inspire others? Because it's one thing to encourage ourselves, which we need to do. Yeah. But why has it been so important for you, in spite of everything, to make sure that you're passing on that encouragement?
Well, I think that there's some real truth, Cyrus, to whatever's in your heart comes out.
Yeah.
And I have to give myself a big dose of love and inspiration and encouragement every day. And I try to live in that space. And so for me, it's not looking to do that. It's just naturally the space that I'm in. Okay. And the thing that I've learned about life, it's got to happen. Like when we're born, when we agree to come here, we agree to the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy. We agree to have this experience called life. And I'm excited for the privilege just to be here. This earth is magnificent, and human beings are really, God did a phenomenal job when he created us as humans, because each person that I've ever encountered in my life left me with some kind of lesson to help make me better and to help, move me forward as a human being. So loving on people, it is what it is,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in that love comes out in different ways, especially when it comes to the kitchen, Deborah. So I want to talk about the cooking. I have highlighted in the carousel for those tuning in on Amazon, Great Southern Baking with Deborah L. Hunter, which is your latest cookbook. Yes. This one, I have the print edition. Our audience can get it there. They can also, of course, get the Kindle edition. Talk to us about, I love the story about you and food. So talk to us about what it's been like for you to share your love of food online and also in your cookbooks.
So you do know that this latest cookbook is your fault, Cyrus. um, I was privileged to create the first cookbook in 2018, My Delicious Mississippi Life, and I'm really proud of that project. It was nominated for Cookbook of the Year by the African American Literary Association. We were with a different publishing company since then, but so much growth has come out of writing that book because I created my own publishing company, Houston Publishing. That cookbook has opened so many doors, and it really is a love story for the state of Mississippi, because it's not just recipes for food, but they are really charming little stories about what it means to grow up as a Southern girl. And so I'm really happy about that little, inspirations that things that my grandmother, words of wisdom that she would say to me on a regular basis. And so I tried to put as much of that into the cookbook as possible. But this last cookbook, Cyrus, I really hadn't even thought about doing another book. And then you called me, you was like, girl, it's time to get it done. And I said, okay. And we made it happen. And I'm really proud of this project as well. And in 2023, we're going to be introducing a third cookbook. And I'm really excited about that. It's called My Delicious Mississippi Lifestyle. So you'll get to see a more glamorous look at who we are here in the South. And I'm really excited because it won't, again, just be about how we prepare food here, but it really is being able to show off a more excellent side of this state. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. That's something to look forward to for sure. Deborah, the other thing is in 2021, you did something different. Now, people have gotten to know you. I was introduced to you because of food, right? But in 2021, you introduced yourself as a author and illustrator of children's books.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. I'm going to go ahead and highlight some of them on the carousel for our Amazon audience. There's a Little D's that we're able to see there. Grandma to the Rescue is there also. There is a Little DJ and his Big Imagination is over there as well. So talk to us about how the children's books came about.
So, Cyrus, I've been blessed with 4 absolutely beautiful grandchildren. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and the books really was me gifting them something from my heart to theirs that could never be taken away from them. And, and I really believe that reading is a superpower. Yeah. It is, if you really want to teach your children how to be superheroes, teach them how to read. And especially for those of us of color, it's really important that, we create a love story around reading. Growing up for me, Cyrus, reading was a punishment, right? If you don't behave yourself, I'm going to send you to your room and read. However, I wanted my grandchildren to understand that reading really is your power to the world. If you want to travel somewhere and you can't afford to, you can take your mind and open the pages of a book and go anywhere you want to in the world, learn things about your history and who you are. So this, for me, is just a seed gifted to them. And I hope, that if other people share these stories with their children, they will, plant those same seeds of, causing your children just to be in love with words, and wanting to, turn the pages of their books.
Yeah. For myself, Deborah, with the children's books, and I had a chance to read each one of them, especially like when it comes to Little DJ and Little D, the thing that really, 2 things stood out to me. One is the importance of dreaming big, right? Yeah. And how that is something that should be encouraged, but also realizing what you can do regardless of your age, regardless of where you're from, or how others may see you, right? So I want to ask you about those 2 things for yourself. How important has it been for you not to allow the limitations that other people may have to be put on you?
I probably live in my own little world, Cyrus. I never really try to even think about that. And people really have a lot to say, but God has gifted me with the ability to really move into my own imagination, and to live in a space where I'm not concerned about so much what people are giving me as much as I am what I'm giving to the world, right? And I know from my heart that it really is giving others love and peace and kindness as much as possible. And speaking of being, superpowers, love, light, truth, it really is. And it will repel some of this stuff, not that we don't think about things that people say, but I try to always, even when somebody's being critical, I'll stop and ask myself, is there something that I really need to work on? Is there something I can do better? Right? Because sometimes your enemies can see your weaknesses and they will tell you. And you have to be wise enough to say, let me close those gaps. So trying to put a positive on everything. It's not always easy. I wrote something a couple of days ago, I'm grateful for my life, both the good and the bad, because that's what made me who I am. And so, but what I found, Cyrus, if you are genuinely a good person, what you get is more good than bad.
Yeah.
And so I try to reflect on that as much as possible. And people have been extraordinarily kind, behind the scenes. I've had some really tough times. That's just part of life, it really is. And I don't know that I've ever had any real growth when things were just super easy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think too, that's also why you bring up a really good point though, Deborah. I think that's also why we can't get comfortable, right? And that's one thing about you. When people look at your career, you definitely have not chosen to just be comfortable. You've been willing to push yourself, not knowing what the outcome's going to, where the outcome's going to take you. Where does that come from? Do you think, is that part of your curiosity or just your desire to try?
I'm curious about the world. And I think I've been like that since I was a little girl. I was a strange kid. So I was a little kid outside talking to all of my little imaginary friends. And I always believed that I could hear the voice of God in my heart. And so, to think about that, when he says the earth is mine and the fullness thereof, when we say we love him, then you ought to be curious about the things that he's created. And then he said he created us in his image. And so when I think about who God is, he's a creator. He's always giving us something that's moving forward. And so I've decided in my life that I'm going to live full, but I will die empty, and that's been a mantra for me for a very long time. And it's not about pursuing money, because I have had times that I've done a lot of work with no money there. So it's not about that. It really is leaving all of me in the earth that I possibly can. When I leave here, people will know that I've been on this planet. And I'm determined, to be that human being. But for the most part, Cyrus, everything that I do really is me wanting to just love on other people. And I keep saying that because I think we live in a space that is really trying to assassinate our ability to love each other. We hear so much stuff, and it's there's a book called The Art of War. And in this book, when you read it, what you'll find is that the tactic sometimes is just quiet tactics. It's not the big boom, but if I can get you to separate quietly from one another, and that's kind of what's happening in the world now. You hear conversations, we don't need each other, especially between men and women, or even in the races, and so for me, it is just being determined to be the light in the world. That's it,
Yeah. Hello to you, Wendy, joining us on Facebook. Thanks for being with us. For those who are just tuning in, you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. We also are streaming though live on Facebook and YouTube. So we do welcome all of you. We're excited to welcome back Deborah L. Hunter, appropriately because it's National Entrepreneurs Month, but also because Deborah is a chef. She's an author, an entrepreneur, an illustrator, and she's the host of her own show, Coffee and Conversations. I'm going to remind you guys can stay all connected with her on the Amazon side. As I mentioned earlier, you'll notice Deborah's books either in this corner or down below. So make sure you guys do click through to those so you can find out more information about them. I want to go back to your first book. It is in the carousel here on Amazon, My Delicious Mississippi Life. I'm going to highlight it for a moment there, Deborah, and talk to you about another thing, because both of us have a great love for our home state of Mississippi. But one thing I've always said is, though I have love for Mississippi, I'm not defined or confined by Mississippi. Right. How important has that been for you, even though you share your love for Mississippi in your books like My Delicious Mississippi Life and even your upcoming book, that you realize that you are bigger than just a state line?
Oh, absolutely, Cyrus. It's really been a joy as I grow and go to understand the privilege of being a citizen of the world, right?
Mhm.
And thank God for technology, because now we can be connected with people all over the world in places that I could never imagine. To have people
Mhm.
reach out, to me that are, citizens of France or Italy, or, some little country that I've never even heard of before, and just sending messages saying, I really appreciate, you sharing a word or what you're doing in the world. It's just really amazing. But absolutely. And I think what's really wonderful is that no matter where you go, even in Africa, there is a place called Fayette that was something, there's a Fayette, Mississippi.
Mhm.
So, we kind of touch the world everywhere. But I think some of the most brilliant people in the world, especially in art and music, have come from the beautiful state of Mississippi. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yet it is typically the negative things that people bring up when it comes to our state, right? And it goes to the
Well,
point we
that's
were
until they
speaking.
get to know
Yeah.
you, Cyrus.
Oh well, sometimes even in spite of that. No, I'm just. But I think, but I bring that up because you're right. There's so many. I mean, we gave birth to Oprah. We
Yeah.
don't do anything else. We gave the world Oprah.
And as
And Morgan
quiet as you
Freeman
kept
too.
Snoop Dogg, okay?
Yeah, and Morgan Freeman, John Grisham. There's so
Brandy, right.
yeah, there's so many talented people that have come from the state. So, and you know what I have learned from that, and I'm curious as to your thoughts about this, Deborah, is that it really shows me that people will try to say what they want to say, but they cannot take away the gift. And all those people that we just mentioned, there's been negative things said about them, all of that, but it
Yeah.
cannot take away from their gift. How important has that been for you to remember that regardless of what happens in life or what change you may face, that the gift is still in you that was given to you?
I'm going to share something. As far as I had to be, I guess, about 16 years old, and I met a gentleman, a much older man, who stopped and we had a conversation. And what he said to me, he said, "Baby," he said, "depending on what you're made out of, life will either grind you away or to polish you up." And so when we're faced with combative things or negativity, those things are designed to grind away everything that's not supposed to be there, so that the gifting, that beautiful light, can shine through. So, it's just it really, at this point in my life, at this present moment, Cyrus, I really have embraced the ugly stuff, because elevation always happens on the other side of that. It's a biblical principle that your enemies become your footstool. And a lot of times we think enemies are people, but it really can just be overcoming adverse circumstances, or the enemy of your own mind. And once you learn to conquer the negativity, then you're just taking new steps. And for every new step, you're going to have something else to conquer. And so, you know, I tell people to fasten on and have a good time in life, because bad stuff is going to happen, even to good people.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. And then not taking stuff or people so personally,
Mm.
learning to love without, taking all that stuff to heart and ruining yourself. People live in depression and sadness and rejection because of what you believe somebody else thinks, but it's really, who you are and what you believe about yourself and what you say about yourself every day that gives real value, you
Mhm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Such a great point. So, you mentioned earlier about what coffee and conversations, how it all began. What has it taught you? Because I've been able to hear a lot of the conversations you've had recently, and been very, very fascinating guests. But what has this show taught you, Deborah, about your feelings about life and love, but also the lessons that life and love can teach us?
um that the only limitations that we have, Cyrus, are those that we set for ourselves.
Hmm.
To respect each human life individually with as much love and grace as you want someone else to give to yourself. To be very broad when it comes to people and not be so opinionated, but be open minded and willing to listen. Um, because learning is not knowing, learning is being open for information to come in. It's just not knowing something, because you can assume a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
but always be open. And the more that you stay open for good, good will come. And I'm having a lot of fun, even overcoming some of my own personal fears and you know, things that I deal with myself on a daily basis. And the thing that I would say to anybody is, if you feel that tremendous amount of self-doubt and fear, that's the moment you need to jump in and do something. Because there's something on the other side of you jumping in, right? I have moments that I'm absolutely horrified, Cyrus. It's a podcast, and you would think it's really simple, but it's putting yourself out there, and it's what you talked about earlier, worried about what other people may or may not say, and having to stop myself and say, you know what, I'm just gonna have some fun with it, and at least I'm doing it. At least I'm doing it, and yeah.
That's a good thing. And I typically ask guests if there is a question, even though I don't script the show, Deborah. I typically ask people about how their idea of success has changed. I'm not going to ask you that question. But based on this conversation, I do want to ask you this. How was your idea of what peace is? How has that changed and evolved?
Oh, gosh. I used to think that peace meant making everybody else comfortable, right? I used to think that if I could make my daughter happy, if my parents, would be satisfied with who I am, if my friends would like me, and everybody seemed to be breathing it in, that's peace. But the reality is for me, Cyrus, is, and this may sound really weird, but learning to breathe in the fire and knowing that I'm okay even in the fire and that I won't be consumed, that has been peace for me.
Yeah.
It's that whole idea of the Bible says, and God will give you beauty for ashes, right? And in trusting that process is the birth of a phoenix. I'm not going to be burnt up by whatever happens to me. I'm going to be better on the other side. And knowing that in every situation for me it's given me peace to continue and to keep going and to keep giving and believing that something better is coming. But also, Cyrus, what my life has taught me this year is to just sit in every moment, just take in my heartbeat, be happy for the moment, and stop beating myself up about what could happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But just live and be happy today, Yeah.
Great point. Again, everyone, Deborah L. Hunter has been our guest. She's a chef, author, illustrator, entrepreneur, and the host of Coffee and Conversations. Deborah, another great conversation with you. I tell people, time is one of those things that definitely is fleeting.
Yeah.
Because it flies by. But how
It
can
feels like we've only been here for 2 minutes. I just looked at the clock. That's crazy, right? Wow. But Cyrus, talking to you and listening to you talk to other people, it's just always so much fun. And you make it easy for people to be open-hearted and to share. And I'm really grateful that God has connected us and that I have you in my life. You're better than gold. You really are. And
I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you, Deborah. I think, and here's the thing, as long as we stay ourselves, the darkness can't win.
Oh, say it.
And I think that's what brings me peace, is knowing that other people's darkness does not have to become mine.
Yeah.
And if you are shining, people will see it.
Yeah.
But if you allow the darkness to envelop you, it wins.
Yeah.
And I think that is the big thing for myself. How can our audience stay connected with you, Deborah?
Well, you can find me at www.deboralhunter.com. Also, of course, on Facebook at Cooking with Honey and Friends, or just send me a personal friend request at Deborah Hunter. You'll see some books and a whole bunch of yummy stuff, some artwork, just all kinds of incredible stuff on the page. Come and be a part of my family. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, Deborah, looking forward to what you have coming up next, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. I love you. God bless you. See everybody later. Bye.
Great. See you later. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon. If you guys came in late and missed part of the broadcast, don't worry. You all can catch the replay. Make sure you again are picking up Deborah's books. You will find them either in this corner or down below. So make sure you guys do take a look there to be able to get them for yourselves. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.